Welcome to the MMA Strategy Show right here on Awesemo.com. Of course, I am Jason Floyd. That is the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr. How you doing, Pete, on this Wednesday evening, man?
What's going on? Looking forward to breaking down this card with you, man. It's a banger, and I feel like we're finally getting treated to a very nice card.
Yeah, of course, the last Fight Night card in Vegas before they head to Fight Island. Colby Covington versus Tyron Woodley. Also, Nico Price, Donald Cerrone's your co-main event, and we've got the rising star, I guess we'd say, and Hamzat Chimaev taking on Gerald Meerschaert. So much to break down. Of course, we'll be here for about the next 50 minutes or so leading up to the PGA show, get you ready for those PGA lineups for the big U.S. Open starting tomorrow. But, of course, we will break down this UFC Fight Night card, which, by the way, I tell you, there is definitely some fights on this card, especially on the main card. There are two fights on the main card that I believe, outside the main event, I believe are must-roster fights. We'll get into those fights as we do go on. But, we got to get right into the main event of Colby Covington versus Tyron Woodley. Colby Covington, you got to pay up if you want him, but he has been a DFS stud all throughout his run here in the 170-pound division. 9,300 on DK, 6,900 for Tyron Woodley on DraftKings, $23 on Fanduel for Colby, and $17 for Tyron Woodley. Colby Covington, a minus 345 betting favorite on the other side. Woodley plus 285, and the fight goes the distance minus 210. Obviously, Colby Covington, I did a dummy crunch a little before we started the show, and on DraftKings, yeah, he's coming up pretty much in every lineup.
Yeah, you know what, Jason? You get what you pay for, and I'm paying for Colby Covington here at 9,300. I think it's a great spot. It's a struggling Tyron Woodley who's aging. He's 38 years old. I'm not falling for his tricks and talk about finally letting his hands go. I'm over Tyron Woodley, and maybe I'm a little salty because he's burned me against Gilbert Burns. But I think you're starting to see Tyron Woodley's limited with his approach. He has a big right hand and does have wrestling advantage over a lot of opponents in the 170-pound division. The problem is, I think that Colby Covington's motor, he's just nonstop, and I think that the pace that he will push could break Tyron Woodley. I really like the spot here for Colby Covington. Significant strikes, takedown output. I just think, even though he tends to go to the distance, I think that he could put up a nice score for us.
Yeah, we have seen him. The Robbie Lawler fight, I think it was 170 points on DraftKings. His pace, and I know there was I saw a thing on Twitter earlier today with his, of course, obviously no longer at American Top Team, his new coach talking about how they've made some changes and they feel that they have found the power in his punches.
So where's he at, Jason? Can you fill me in on that? That's the one thing I didn't look into.
I want to say he's at MMA Masters, but I'm not positive on that, but he is still down in South Florida. Look, obviously Tyron Woodley, former champion, people are going to see that number on him, particularly on DraftKings, not necessarily on FanDuel, particularly on DraftKings, is 6,900. Here's the problem, is what have you seen in the last 10 rounds of Tyron Woodley that gives you any confidence heading into Saturday night?
Nothing. It's the name value, and I'm sure we'll get to some other fighters that have name value that will bring popularity to them. And I think that's the thing. Woodley at 6,900 is enticing because if he lets his hands go, he can knock out a lot of people. And you've seen him do it over and over. He was a reigning champion, but since the Kamaru Usman performance, and even if you look back at the Wonder Boy Thompson fights, he throws, but he doesn't do enough. He backs up a lot and allows his opponents to engage with him, and he's a kind of a counter shot, big right hand, just very limited. And when you're going up against a volume striker, power versus volume, if you don't land that nice shot, you're going to be behind on the scorecards and have to dig yourself out of a big hole here. So, if he's you could put Tyron Woodley in a few lineups because 6,900, he'll break the slate if he wins. He's definitely capable of doing so. And maybe the animosity in this matchup of hating Colby Covington leads to him actually performing. I'm still not buying it. I don't care how many times he's saying he's going to let his hands go. Colby Covington for me.
Yeah, I don't buy it as well. One of the comments we've already gotten in chat, and as always, be sure to line those up in the chat. Lee said, he goes, I faded the last three main events, and I'm fading this one. and I'm not fading this one.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend fading it because Woodley's super cheap. If he wins, he breaks the slate. I think the 5 rounds favors Colby Covington. Woodley's dangerous early, and at 9,300, the accumulation of stats for Covington is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at the pace that Colby puts on. I mean, he is, as I mentioned, DFS stud. His ownership right now that we're seeing much higher on DraftKings as opposed to FanDuel. The FanDuel aspect of it, Pete, is just going to be roster construction with Colby Covington at $23. Like, to me, if I'm rostering Colby Covington, I'm putting him as the MVP. To me, he is a core MVP on FanDuel.
I can't really argue with that. I think that he's a great pick, but the $23 is definitely a lot compared to the rest of the slate. And there's some fighters that are priced disrespectfully, in my opinion. We'll get to them. But, I mean, $23 for Covington, like I said, you get what you pay for, but I think it's warranted.
Yeah, it's going to be, just massive ownership on Colby Covington. But look, I think that if you're a multiple lineup player, you got to at least have Woodley in one lineup just in case he's able to pull this off. But I will be primarily on Colby Covington. But I don't see a ton of value of Woodley on on FanDuel. Excuse me. I think if you want to take Woodley on FanDuel, your thought is going to be he's going to knock him out early in the fight.
Yeah,
I just don't think he throws enough to accumulate those points if this fight gets in the 4th and 5th round.
I mean, he's a powerful guy. I mean, if he puts Colby Covington on his back, how does Colby really, respond to that? He could land a nice shot. He could work towards a submission because he has great top pressure. I just really see the scrambling of Colby Covington being a little too much. And just because I'm mad at Tyron Woodley, I still won't roster him at one lineup.
Co-main event is Donald Cerrone versus Nico Price. Donald Cerrone, the underdog in this one, as we sit here on Wednesday night, plus 135, minus 155 for Nico Price. Of course, if you do want to check out the betting lines for this fight, go to awesemo.com. Right there at the top of the page, you'll see Odds Shopper. Click on that, go to MMA odds, and you can see the odds for this week's UFC event. Over on the DFS side of things, 8,500 for Nico Price. On DraftKings, 7,700 for Donald Cerrone. And then on FanDuel, $17 for Nico Price, $15 for Donald Cerrone, plus 225 that this fight goes the distance. That kind of tells you something. And I mentioned at the beginning of the show, there's 2 fights outside the main event I believe you have to roster. This is one of them.
Yeah, and I think we're a little opposite on this one. And, sell me on Nico Price right now, Jason. I want to hear this.
I believe it's going to be his pace of constantly pushing Donald Cerrone, not letting Donald Cerrone be the dance partner. When you see Donald does struggle, it's when guys are pushing the pace against him. And here's the other thing. Donald Cerrone 4-8 in his last 12 fights. Now look, it's against the top competition, no question about it. Jorge Masvidal, Robbie Lawler, Darren Till, Leon Edwards, Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, Conor McGregor, Anthony Pettis. Majority of those fights, he was stopped.
Yeah, okay. I totally, it's a valid argument. Absolutely. And I think it's fair. It's definitely warranted. As a fighter ages throughout their career and they're taking more shots, you definitely have to question fights like this. But I always say it, how far has the mighty fallen? And, Cowboy Cerrone goes from fighting Conor McGregor in a main event to now fighting Nico Price, who's an up-and-comer. And that's kind of just tells you where he's at. You said 4-8 in his last 12. And, the stylistic matchup of Nico Price does represent a problem generally. Like if you think of the Rafael Dos Anjos, Nate Diaz, anybody that's willing to crowd the space of Donald Cerrone and basically get into that phone booth with him and just, not really respect his power, not respect his striking, and just press him. And if you press him, sometimes you can not necessarily break Cowboy Cerrone, but you make him uncomfortable and he'll start shooting takedowns from a far distance out, or he'll get caught with a bunch of shots and behind. I still Cowboy's my boy. Like I've been following his camp this whole time for like the past month, 2 months. And, I've seen him spar. I've seen some footage of him sparring. I've seen who he's been surrounding himself with, doing a lot of rounds with Carlos Condit. And it, to me, looks like he's always been committed to training, but I feel like we're, it's kind of that old cowboy style of hard training, tons of sparring, like when I was out there training with them, instead of depending on just cardio and getting in good shape because you already know how to fight. Let's actually bring in sparring partners that are trying to take your head off, see how you are defensively, and try to mirror what Nico Price is going to do to him in the fight, because Nico Price, 93% finish rate, has finished people when he's been, losing majority of the rounds. It just comes from behind, has miraculous wins. Probably one of the most interesting highlight videos out there, Jason. He's on his back, hammer fisting Randy Brown, knocks him out, getting beat to a pulp from Tim Means, lands a counter right hand, lands an up kick against James Vick. I can go on and on. Nico Price is very dangerous, and I agree with you that you need this fight. But for me, Cowboy Cerrone can capitalize on a lot of Nico Price's mistakes, and I think that's what we see here.
When it comes to Cowboy Cerrone, there's one reporter that always has the insight on him, and that is Brett Okamoto. And this was an interesting tweet that Brett had on Monday. He goes, interesting note from Cowboy Cerrone's coach. This camp was first time Cowboy has sparred regularly twice a week in a long time. One of the thoughts was to get him in there with young, unfamiliar partners that will force him to focus on not getting hit. I thought that was a very interesting insight into the preparations of Cowboy Cerrone.
Yeah, we do that a lot in our fight camps or our coaches require it, because if you are surrounding yourself with the same teammates, you start to really notice their tendencies. You build a bond with them, so maybe you're not trying to punch them in the face as often. You know what I'm saying? And you need to, go into unfamiliar territory, sparring people you don't know, bringing in people with different styles to keep you sharp. And I do like that approach for Cowboy Cerrone. The size of Nico Price definitely represents a problem as far as how strong he could be. But from training with Cowboy, I'll tell you, not too many people know this. Cowboy's ground game is probably better than his striking. And everybody knows him as this amazing kickboxer. I'm telling you, Cowboy's jiu-jitsu is no joke, and I think that he could submit majority of the division.
There was a comment from Ray. It says, how's his chin these days? I'll frame it this way. Nico Price has been in a lot of wars as well.
Yes.
And so I think if we want to have a question mark of Donald Cerrone because of the wear and tear of 20 plus years of competing, you look at Nico Price in just the wars he has been in. I think it's a valid question on that. That's why I just feel like this is a fight that price point's a good price point on both platforms. 8,700 and 7,000 on DK, and 15 and 17 on Fanduel. So to me, it's a fight that I believe is going to win, is going to end via finish. I doubt this fight hits the third round, so I think you're looking at a first or second round bonus points here. So and you look at the betting line plus 225 that goes distance, tells you what the odds makers think. That's why to me you got to pick a side. Will I have a lineup with Donald Sterling? No question, I will. But to me, I think I like the ceiling more on Nico Price in this situation, and a lot of it honestly is betting against Donald Sterling at this point in his career.
I hear you, and it's valid, and I'll be rooting for my boy Cowboy, and I'll have majority of my lineups with Cowboy just because I like the value on him, and I do think that if he brings out some of the old Cowboy Cerrone, I think that he should wipe the floor with Nico Price.
Plus, you know how much I love trends.
Yes.
Nico Price alternated wins and losses in his last 6 fights. Remember what happened last time? He lost.
It's true. It's true. That is true.
We always talk about that trend with Ron and Marco, so we'll talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, that is something to pay attention to there. Of course, this is the MMA strategy show right here at Awesemo.com. Do want to let you know about a promo that does expire tonight. The U.S. Open is here. Sign up for an Awesemo Plus Golf Weekly Pass for 50% off when you use a promo code BOGIE at checkout. As we were talking a little bit to Josh earlier, apparently we're going to see a lot of bogeys in this U.S. Open. So you got to use that promo code BOGIE to get 50% off a Awesemo Plus Golf Weekly Pass to get our leading golf projections, ownership projections, top golfers tool, and so much more. As I mentioned, this offer does expire tonight. Joe, I appreciate you there in the super chat. He says, famous question for both of you guys. Who are your guys' locks of the week? I'm with Laramie Takedown City. I know Pete will be Romero Barella.
Yeah. We'll get to it, but I love Laramie. I love Laramie. I do. I like him. I liked him regionally. Liked him on the Contender Series. Jason and I broke that down on our podcast. And I think that this is a regional fight at the UFC level. And I think, Laramie should get this done.
If I was going to label one, Kevin Holland.
I like that fight as well. And I do like Holland there.
Next up, we've got our boy Khamzat Chimaev, who has been Mr. Takedown City in his 2 UFC fights. He takes on Gerald Meerschaert here. Chimaev minus 380, Meerschaert plus 315, 9,400 on DK for Chimaev, 6,800 on DraftKings, $21 for Chimaev on Fanduel. A disrespectful $8 on Fanduel for GM3 in this position. It is plus 250 to go the distance. This is, look, I feel like we're tempting the MMA gods a little bit here, Pete, where we're already talking about who Chimaev's next fight is going to be against Damian Maia. Obviously, this is I would say a substantial step up in competition. This is kind of like this is a great test for Chimaev in here. I mean, look, I think his home is ultimately at 170 pounds. So, on Fanduel, man, if you want to take a shot on Gerald Meerschaert, man, it makes roster construction a hell of a lot easier, especially if you want Colby Covington here. But, man, it is hard to go against Chimaev in this spot.
Man, talk about, a rising star. We really haven't seen somebody like this double book before ever. And definitely disrespectful by the UFC to do that. If you're going to double book somebody, do it behind closed doors. Don't do it, out in public.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand that maybe this is like Chimaev's narrative. Like this is, the story of Chimaev. And, this is kind of like what's going to build his brand, so to speak. But 9,400, he's priced fairly for what we've seen, honestly. And the guy is so dominant in there. And he looks like Khabib 2.0, goes in there, wastes zero time to get his hands on you. And, wraps you up, takes you down, ground and pound you, hits you with the Dagestani handcuff, trapping your arm, hitting you with the other. Crazy ground and pound, works towards a finish. The problem is how's his striking? What happens if GM3 is able to keep it on the feet and, he's forced to strike? Does he fade as the fight goes on if he can't get Gerald Meerschaert out? Obvious concerns here, but I really do like Chimaev, even in this spot, despite the experience of Gerald Meerschaert. And it's because I'm having like, little videos in my head of like Thiago Santos, his ground and pound against Gerald Meerschaert, Jack Hermanson, who I know is elite, but doesn't, he has good ground and pound. But I feel like the pressure of the wrestling and grappling of Chimaev is something that is kind of in its own category. Mm-hmm. And I saw what Jack Hermanson did to him. You had Gerald Meerschaert going for some really poor techniques, like trying to throw laterals, and he just doesn't have the best takedown defense. Comes in at 46%. I really think that Chimaev's in here, and he's just going to kill it. I really do.
On the Fanduel side of things, because of the points you get for takedown defenses, the question is, what if he can stop the first couple and he can keep the fight on the feet and Chimaev gas tank goes away and all of a sudden he starts going for sloppy takedowns? Like, I think in terms of a value, I like the value of Meerschaert more on Fanduel than I do on DraftKings.
Yeah, that's fair. I just, for me, Gerald Meerschaert, he is the more experienced guy. He's 6-5 in the UFC. The one thing with Meerschaert is, out of his 31 victories, he has finished 94% of them. So the guy knows how to finish fights and catch people in chokes from unorthodox areas. And, maybe he catches Chimaev's neck on one of these takedown attempts. And that's definitely probably the way he would win the fight if he wins at all. But for me, it's Chimaev and sprinkle some Meerschaert in as a GPP dart.
Better ceiling, Chimaev or Covington?
Covington, 5 rounds. Boom.
Oh, I'm with you on that.
But it's close, though. It's close, though.
Like, I'm looking at our ownership, okay? 47% for Colby Covington, 41% for Chimaev. on DraftKings. They are going to be overwhelmingly owned, but both of them have a high probability of over 100 points. But if you want to save some roster spot, I don't think it's. I might have one lineup without either one of them.
I think you need one of them. I do think you need one of them. And I think that's contrarian. I think two will be the chalky build, but I think it's for good reason. I mean, how many different lineups can you make with Covington and Chimaev? There goes the top. So we'll have to do that for Live Before Lock on Saturday. Make sure you guys check us out. And we dive into the matchups a little bit deeper post weigh-in. So this is all pre-weigh-in analysis. Hopefully we don't lose any fights, Jason.
1.5 over under.
At this point, I'm
fighters off.
At this point, I'm smashing over, bro. It's bad.
Here's going to be the question mark. Does Chimaev have a higher ceiling than the winner of Walker Spann?
Yes.
I think Walker Spann, which is the next fight we're going to talk about, to me, that's another fight that I believe is a must-roster fight. I believe this is a fight that will end via finish. Johnny Walker, of course, we have seen him, obviously got off to a great start in the UFC. He's lost back-to-back fights. He is a favorite in this one, minus 125. Ryan Spann, plus 105. Ryan Spann, undefeated in the UFC. Walker, 8,300 on DK, 7,900 for Ryan Spann. $18 for Johnny Walker on Fanduel, $16 for Spann. Fight to go the distance, plus 220. I was reading Guilherme Cruz had a great piece on Johnny Walker today on MMAfighting.com, where he really talked about the fact of being at SBG Ireland, how much he's really crediting John Kavanagh. I believe I was listening to the Anik and Florian podcast, and John Anik was talking about that Misha Serkinov is also scheduled to be in his corner for this fight as well. So, it's kind of Guilherme had a great line. It was basically like no partying, no distractions for Johnny Walker heading into this one. But to me, this is a fight, I believe someone's getting finished within 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'll smash my exposure to this fight. I really like it. Walker's a wild man. He's 3-2 in the UFC, coming off that a long time ago Corey Anderson knockout. And, that was unfortunate. And he definitely got wobbled and rocked and knocked out. He has been knocked out a decent amount in his career, Jason. And I do think that Ryan Spann is very, very talented. I think that Ryan Spann comes from a great camp, has good hands, good jiu-jitsu. He's patient, whereas Johnny Walker's not patient. So Johnny Walker's like a round one killer, and he goes out there and tries to finish you early, has tons of round one wins. But he's also been knocked out by Corey Anderson, Henrique Silva in round one, submitted by Klidson Abreu, Wagner Prado knocked out round two. I mean, we're dating back some time, but the thing is his recklessness gets him caught. Now, can this new coaching staff really kind of slow him down and he can start reaching his potential? We'll have to see. But I do think that Ryan Spann, it's hard to say because Ryan Spann has been rocked a ton, but it's not like he's reckless. He just kind of gets caught. It's all who lands the shot, the quickest. And I think that Ryan Spann at 7,900, he's cheaper. I just like his overall game because, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but when Johnny Walker came into the UFC, I believe you were not very high on him at all, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, I was not. It was things I saw on film. I just didn't think it was there. I mean, obviously he proved me wrong, but then you look at his last two fights and it hasn't been there. I mean, it's, now under the direction of John Kavanagh, how much does that change things? And obviously Ryan Spann training at Fortis MMA is a gym that both of us, do like. I mean, you just look at the results that gym has had there. But to me, this is a fight I believe you have to target price-wise, solid price-wise on both platforms if you're looking to play either one of these guys. So to me, I think you gotta. I'll probably have 50% exposure on each guy.
Wow, yeah, that's aggressive, but I can't blame you. I mean, the worry is as the heavier you go in weight classes, heavyweight, light heavyweight, the more likelihood fights could be sloppy if they get exhausted. Whereas like featherweights and lighter guys can go their motors all day. But you're talking about two guys that really throw down. Ryan Spann can work his takedowns and try to just go the path of least resistance and just put Johnny Walker on his back and then get the W that way. So we'll have to see. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's a matchup that I'm definitely interested in. Of course, be sure to smash that like button right here on YouTube. As always, we do appreciate that. That does help us out a lot. As I mentioned, coming up right after us will be the PGA show. They'll get you ready for the U.S. Open. Then we got a female matchup: Mackenzie Dern versus Ronda Marcos. Mackenzie Dern minus 165, Ronda Marcos plus 145. Mackenzie Dern 8,700 on DraftKings, 7,500 on for Ronda Marcos. $16 for Dern on FanDuel, $11 for Ronda Marcos. This fight is plus 100 to go the distance. This is a fight that's going to be interesting if it hits the mat. Now, one of the things about Mackenzie Dern, we have seen improvements in her skills, particularly the stand-up side. It does look like the weight cutting issues are done. Obviously we'll see on Friday. Maybe I just gave her the curse and now she's going to have weight cutting problems. But this one, if this gets to the ground, I think it's all Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. Mackenzie Dern is unreal when it hits the mat. Her jiu-jitsu is on another level than most of the women in any division, and she's the real deal. But this is not an easy fight, and I don't want people to think that Randa Marcos is some bum. And she's 10-8 overall, but in the UFC she's 6-7-1. Now, let's bring up experience, and she's fought names, Jason, like Amanda Hebos recently, Ashley Yoder, Claudia Gadelia, has a win over Angela Hill, who everybody last week was super high on. Alexa Grasso, Carla Esparza again, Courtney Casey. I can keep going on. The girl has fought like the majority of the division, and she's seen a ton of talent. Now, Randa Marcos is definitely a liability of getting taken down and controlled and, possibly submitted. Like, the worst possible situation would be Mackenzie Dern takes her back because it's a wrap. Mackenzie turned it, she takes most people's back. It's over. You have to worry about the armbar from guard. But Randa Marcos has the better striking in this situation, hands down. And she can try to keep it on the feet. She has defended plenty of takedowns in the Claudia Gadelia fight. And even in the Amanda Hebos fight, she did get taken down. But there are plenty of times when she was able to avoid it. I think it's not my favorite fight for DFS. I can actually see this going the distance and being closer than people imagine. I do still think Mackenzie Dern finds some way, Jason, to get it done, and it's a close fight.
Yeah, it's if you think the submission is going to come, by the way, 7 of Ronda Marcos's 8 losses have come via decision.
Yeah.
She does have one submission loss, was all the way back in 2016 against Courtney Casey, which, well, we don't, and of course, armbar.
Yeah, I tell you, it's the most common, submission. And, you could say she hasn't been submitted, but she's facing one of the best grapplers of all time for women's MMA, women's jiu-jitsu. Like, the girl is so nasty. So I kind of don't really look at that too much. I just think that, Mackenzie Dern doesn't have the best takedown. So, in the UFC, she has takedown accuracy 7% and only averages 0.43 takedowns per 15 minutes. She only needs one. Let's be real. She only needs one, but can she get it done? I think she gets the decision win. So I'm not really smashing this exposure.
Then we got Kevin Holland versus Darren Stewart. Kevin Holland, a minus 250 favorite, plus 210 for Darren Stewart. 9,100 on DraftKings for Kevin Holland, 7,100 for Stewart. $20 for Holland on FanDuel, $11 for Stewart. And this is minus 155 to go to the distance. I don't know if you saw when this fight was announced, how Kevin Holland announced the fight. Did you happen to see that one?
No, I didn't.
So you know what Darren Stewart's nickname is, right?
The dentist, right?
Correct. So who was at the dentist and he's getting ready to get his teeth cleaned, and his manager calls him, let him know that he's got to fight with the dentist. He starts beating the dentist up. And then his manager gets there and is like, no, Darren Stewart.
That's awesome.
Like, oh, sorry. Well, yeah, Kevin, to me, Kevin Holland, this is, I think, what was it, 6 guys on DK? There are 9,000 or more, I think, this week, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the question as you handicap this one out in terms of those 9,000 options on DK, or five options. Kevin Holland to me is one of I put him right behind Covington and Chimaev.
Hey man, we've been the conductors on this Kevin Holland, hype train. And if you think about it, going into the fight against Anthony Hernandez, we called that. His most recent fight against Joaquin Buckley, we called that. Kevin Holland is nasty. He has great striking, some really, really technical submissions as well. The guy is super talented. I really think he's starting to come into his own. Darren Stewart 2 fights ago was outside the UFC and now comes into the UFC and gets a very nice win against Maki Pitolo with a submission, a guillotine choke. And that kind of surprised a lot of people. We knew you needed to roster that fight. But, Darren Stewart, I think, is the B-side in this matchup.
Mhm.
I really do. I think that Kevin Holland's height, slight height advantage, but a massive reach advantage, a 7-inch reach advantage. He has more ways to win here, Jason. Darren Stewart's very explosive and can win this fight if he lands a shot. I don't see him out grappling Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, though, does have somewhat shoddy takedown defense, comes in at 51%. I feel like he just welcomes people to take him down because he enjoys his grappling so much and is really good at reversing people. But for me, it's Kevin Holland, 9,100. It's really hard to prioritize the 9K options this week. There are so many that that I like this week, and that's quite unusual for me.
Well, look, a great way to prioritize those 9K options is sign up for an Awesemo Plus
Yep.
MMA weekly pass for $8.95 so you can get access to ownership projections, player projections, that top fighter tool. Those are tools you got to help you make those lineups coming up for this weekend's UFC card. So be sure to sign up for that right now at awesemo.com/join. Next up, we'll talk about a matchup that just came together today officially. It was Miguel Baeza was initially supposed to take on Mickey Gall. Now he's going to take on Jeremiah Wells. Jeremiah Wells plus 285. Miguel Baeza minus 350. As of doing this show, we do not have any DFS lines.
Yeah, so we don't have any DK salary, Fanduel salary, nothing. But I can tell you that I've been following Miguel Baeza's career. He's 2-0 in the UFC, coming off a very nice victory over Matt Brown. I've also been following his boxing coach on Instagram for quite some time and didn't really know that he was Baeza's coach. I just like the way this guy coaches. He has
Mm-hmm.
a phenomenal system, and I see a lot of Baeza's work. Baeza, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. A lot of people don't realize that, but his hands are so dangerous, and he gets a lot of victories that way. He's 9-0, comes in 78% finish rate. He was scheduled to face Mickey Gall, which I was going to have him locked in, Jason. There's no way Mickey Gall was beating him in that matchup. Jeremiah Wells actually comes in from the same promotion that I fight for, CES MMA. And this is a very interesting spot because Jeremiah Wells is good, Jason. He's very good. And I've seen him knock out some top regional guys. He's 8-2, 8-2-1 overall. Very powerful guy, comes out of Daniel Gracie. So it's Renzo Gracie, Philadelphia. He could definitely win this fight if he lands a shot or is the more aggressive grappler, because what he likes to do is throw heavy bombs and aggressive grappling. So I will be paying attention to this salary, and I'll probably sprinkle in some Wells punt plays. But, I think Baeza had the full camp. I think he can get it done here, and he should get it done.
And likely another 9K option in terms
I
of
would
DraftKings.
imagine. Yeah. I mean, he should be. I looked at the lines, and it's a minus 300 favorite. So you would imagine.
Then we got a female matchup at 125 pounds, Silva and Barella. Silva minus 245, Barella plus 205, 9,000 for Silva on DK, 7,200 for Barella, then $17 and $11 respectively on FanDuel, plus 105 to go the distance. Can you at all sell me on Mara Romero Barella?
Yeah, I guess I can, because that 9K price tag on Bueno Silva makes no sense to me. And I think it's based more on Romero Barella being known as a fighter who's not good and somehow still in the UFC. I believe she's on a skid right now, and the girl's 12-8 overall. She was putting Courtney. Yeah, she's on a 3-fight losing streak right now. She had Courtney Casey on the mat and gave up her arm and got submitted via armbar. So I actually do think Romero Barella is not a bad punt play at 7,200. What I've seen from Bueno Silva, somewhat lackluster. Should have the striking advantage in this matchup, but Romero Barella, from everything I'm reading and hearing from interviews and everything, is that she really shines in the gym and she's really strong with her takedowns. Now, if they focused at ATT to keep her arms in and not putting a hand on the mat to isolate her arm and get arm barred, I think that she has some promise here at 7,200 for a decision win via tons of takedowns. So I'll have a few lineups with her, but this 9K option of Bueno Silva, just really not, a fighter I'm looking to get to. I'd rather, I prefer the other 9K options.
Then it's your favorite fight of the night, the 8,200, 8,000 matchup. That is Jordan Espinoza versus David Dvorak, both minus 110 on the betting lines. David's the 8,200 fighter, $17 for him on FanDuel, $15 for Espinoza, minus 245 to go the distance.
Yeah, so maybe you don't need this fight in your lineups, but it's hard to get away from that mid-range because it really helps out your lineup so you can get highs and lows, mostly highs. But I'm not really thinking, overthinking this too much. I think that David Dvorak's going to get it done. I really do. I think that he's more powerful. Jordan Espinoza stands on the outside and has been training a lot at Cowboys BMF Ranch right now. He has the tendency of getting taken down and submitted. I think David Dvorak, has the power advantage, the submission advantage. Espinoza has the better footwork. It's a 125-pound bout. Most likely goes the distance. Probably not a priority for my lineups, but if I had to pick, I think Dvorak gets it done.
Next up, we got Jessica Rose Clark. She is minus 225, taking on Sarah Alpar at plus 185, 8,900 for Rose Clark, 7,300 for Alpar, 16 for Rose Clark, and $12 for Alpar, minus 320 to go the distance.
Yeah, Jason, help me out with this fight because, I don't know what to make of this fight. I feel like they're mirror images. They both come in 44% finish rate. Probably not the most exciting fight. Alpar has decent takedowns. Clark should try to keep it up or work towards a submission, but for me, it's just a fight I'm staying away from.
Jessica Rose Clark should win this fight.
Yeah.
I don't like the price point.
I'm not paying 8,900. You're out of your mind. I'm not doing it.
That Northeast accent just came out a little bit there.
When I get aggravated, it comes out, and that price tag really 8,900 is ridiculous. I haven't seen anything solid on film that would really warrant that price tag. I don't understand it.
Yeah. It's when I initially saw 8,900 for Jessica, I was like, ooh, I like her to win the fight, but man, that is a high price point to pay for a fight that likelihood is it's going 15 minutes.
I bet you she'll probably come in one of the lowest owned fighters because of that.
Well, let's see where we got her at right now. Where is Jessica? Yeah.
See what I mean?
Under 20%.
See what I mean?
Yeah. It's in terms of favorites. She would be the lowest owned. Actually, no. There's one other favorite that's a little lower than her.
Okay.
So we haven't talked about that fighter yet. So we'll get to that fighter here shortly. Speaking of Northeast, a guy that we're both familiar with, Randy Costa, going to take on Journey Newsome. Journey Newsome minus 140. Randy is plus 120. Journey 8,400 on DraftKings. Randy 7,800, and then on FanDuel 17 for Journey, 16 for Randy, plus 205. Randy Costa. Here's about the best way to describe. If you're not familiar with Randy Costa, I hate to make guarantees in fights. I feel pretty safe in saying guaranteeing Randy's going to throw a head kick at some point.
Yeah, I'd put my life on the line that Randy Costa's going to throw a head kick. Costa trains with my coach Greg Ribello, and Greg Ribello is one of the best heavyweights New England has ever seen. And Costa has a real tricky style. He's a decent size for the 135-pound division, coming in at 5'9". Has a 6-inch reach advantage over Journey Newsome. So now Journey Newsome, has good striking. He's powerful. He definitely can crack and definitely could knock Randy Costa out, and has more ways to win than Randy Costa does. So Newsome's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. should look to do, take him to the mat, avoid the striking of Randy Costa, put him on his back, work towards a submission. Does he do that? I don't know. He would have an advantage there, but the pick for me is Costa. I think that my buddy Randy is going to go out there and light up Journey and work towards a finish. He's young, he's hungry, he's down where American Top Team right now, I believe. So he is, he's surrounded by talent right now. I'm sure they've been hammering his takedown defense, because if he's able to keep it on the feet, he has some promise in the 135-pound division. Those head kicks are tricky, and that is why I'm giving him the edge in this fight. It's his trickiness. If you are very tricky and unorthodox, you catch people and have a ton of success.
Greg Rebel is actually the person that introduced me to Randy right before he got into the UFC. As he hit me up, he's like, "Hey man, can I get an interview with one of my guys here?" I was like, "Yeah, of course, let's set it up." And Randy, he will tell you how much he loves head kicks. Like I'm like, I go literally. I think he had a fight where I think that's all he threw.
I mean, I share that same love that he does. I mean, kicking people in the head is a great thing. It's like the best. Like, punch somebody in the head or kick them in the head. It's kick somebody in the head all day long for me. But I can't blame him.
But I wonder in this fight, will the thought of be is, hey, we got to be careful about throwing these head kicks, because all of a sudden that makes you susceptible to getting taken down.
Okay, so when you throw a ton of head kicks, right, or a ton of kicks in general, if somebody steps in, they can hit you with a big counter cross, and or they can catch you and take you down, especially if it's a lazy head kick. Head kicks, not so much of getting taken down, as the body kicks that are the most dangerous. Body kicks and low kicks. So Randy Costa here, as long as Journey Newsom doesn't go out there and try to grapple him like Brandon Davis did, I think that we're in good shape.
Next up, we got Andre Ewell -210 taking on Erwin Rivera +175, 8,800 for Ewell, 7,400 for Rivera, $18 on Fanduel for Ewell, and 14 for Rivera. -245 to go distance. This will be Andre's first fight since breaking his arm earlier this year in the controversial win he had against Jonathan Martinez. So he is back. He had to sit out some time, was in a cast to get back into this one. So this is Erwin Rivera, a guy who got a short notice fight back in May. So it's already his third fight in the UFC.
And he's 1-1. I mean, who's better than this guy? He goes in there, takes a fight against Giga Chikadze, and then, is able to pick up a win in his most recent fight. 7,400 Erwin Rivera, he can knock people out because of how explosive and dynamic he is, and he throws tons of Superman punches, flying knees. You just need to catch somebody correctly, Jason, and next thing you know, the fight's over. But the pick for me is Andre Ewell here, 8,800. Don't really know if I get to that. It's a little hefty, but like skills wise, Andre should have the advantage. He's longer, 75-inch reach advantage, 75-inch reach over Erwin Rivera's 67-inch reach. So 8-inch reach advantage. That is insane. Andre should have the volume, the length, the experience. Give me Andre.
Next up, we've got Derek Minner taking on TJ Laramie. TJ Laramie making his UFC debut, -290 +245 for Minner, 9,200 for Laramie on DraftKings, $19 on FanDuel for Derek Minner, 7,000 on DK, and 13 on FanDuel. And this one is interesting, +175 to make it to the distance. Obviously, TJ Laramie probably going to be a popular play in here. The question is, are we going to Takedown City here?
I don't know, because like Derek Minner's only shot at winning majority of fights is catching people in submissions. Like he throws bombs, so anything can happen when you're slinging leather. But Laramie should have the grappling advantage, the striking advantage. I just think that he's on a completely different level. I've seen Minner put on his back, controlled, dominated in position, ground and pounded, give up sometimes. And I do think that Laramie has a strong ground game, like strong pressure from the top, outside of a fluky submission. I think that, I think Laramie gets this done 9 times out of 10. And I really think he's going to have a strong performance. I think Minner will be very, very popular because he's 7K, has a 92% finish rate out of 24 victories. That is insane. But for me, I'm passing on Derek Minner. If you're going to play him, he's one of the best GPP options, because of his finish rate. But I think Laramie's just too skilled.
Yeah, I would agree with you on there. Then the final fight that we have to break down here is Tyson Dam versus Jerome Rivera. We saw Jerome on the Contender Series. Of course, we all know not Tyson Dam. We were all over Tyson Dam last week. Unfortunately, opponent didn't make it to fight. Tyson Dam minus 175 plus 155 for Jerome Rivera. Tyson Dam is 8,600 on DK, 17 on Fanduel, and 7,600 for Rivera on DK, 16 on Fanduel. And this is plus 110 to go the distance.
Wow. That's interesting. Tyson Nam comes in 19-11-1. Crazy experience. Has knocked out some, amazing opponents. Ali Bagatinov, Eduardo Dantes. I can keep going on of who he's fought and who he's beaten. I mean, he's lost to a decent amount, but it's against really high-level opponents. Rivera here, coming off the Contender Series, he looked okay. He looked all right. I don't think that his style matches up the best against Tyson Nam. Tyson Nam hasn't been submitted in his pro career. Tyson Nam sprawls really well, defends takedowns well. In the UFC, has 100% takedown defense, which is crazy. Only 3 fights, so the sample size is limited, but strong striker, experience advantage. I think that Tyson Nam should be able to just pick apart Rivera here. Rivera is going to be shooting immediately. Like, he's going to be looking to take it to the mat. The one thing in favor of Rivera in this matchup would probably be the size, 3-inch height advantage, 4-inch reach advantage. If for some reason he worked on his striking and it's better and he can keep him on the outside, perhaps he does better than what we're anticipating. I don't know if I'll really have a lot of exposure to Tyson Nam because, I don't know. There's so many other fighters I want to get in my lineups, but $8,600, it's okay. It's not bad. I think that he should get the victory.
We should note that Mirsad Bektik was scheduled to be on this card. His opponent pulled from the event due to COVID. So we'll see if he gets a fight on this card. He was priced $9,500 on DraftKings, $22 on FanDuel. So that's going to be interesting to see if they do find a replacement opponent for him. Who is it? And is that a price you want to pay up for?
Yeah, I know Mirsad. He was one of my main training partners now in American Top Team. Insanely strong wrestler. The guy has nasty ground and pound. I would be paying very close attention to see who fills in, if anybody does. So check us out on Saturday to see, the latest updates and who we're going to be rostering and who looked bad at the weigh-ins. Make sure you guys check us out there for all the updated information.
Yeah, we'll be live at 4 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. Start to line up those questions. We're going to get out of here in about 5 minutes. So let's go down to our straight picks for this one. I'll start off first here. Give me Colby Covington, Nico Price, Hamzat Chimaev, Ryan Spann, Mackenzie Dern, Kevin Holland. Give me Bruno Silva, David Dvorak, Jessica Rose Clark, Randy Costa, Andre O, TJ Laramie, Tyson Nam, and Miguel Baeza.
Nice. I'm going Colby Covington, Donald Cerrone, Chimaev, Spann, Dern, Holland, Baeza, Romero Barella, Dvorak, Clark, Costa, Ewell, Laramie, Tyson Nam.
In terms of some value plays on DraftKings, I think that and what I consider is under 8,000. So I'm looking for fighters in those 7,000 range that I think have some value. I would look at Randy Costa at 7,800, and I think you got to look at Ryan Spann 7,900 and Donald Cerrone at 7,700.
Yeah, I have 4 that I'm really circling: Cowboy Cerrone, Ryan Spann, oddly enough, Romero Barella, and Randy Costa.
Over on FanDuel, looking at some value plays, Mackenzie Dern, I don't know if we want to consider $16 a value play. But if I'm looking to go under $16 of that could stick out to me, there's not much under $16 that really,
Cowboy for me.
Yeah, Cowboy. I'm going to have at least one lineup on FanDuel with Jared Marshall in it.
Yeah, at $8, it's so tempting. It really is.
Look at last week. What was it? Was it Roxanne $9?
Yep, I told you she was going to win.
And I think she still got like 80 points.
Yeah.
Didn't do well on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, she racked up a little bit of points if you took her in that spot. So yeah, So if you do have any questions, be sure to line that up there. We'll get in here as we do go on. Of course, Pete mentioned we'll be here on Saturday for Live Before Lock, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Is there anything about any of these fights that you didn't get a chance to mention that comes to your mind?
I didn't get a chance to mention about how awesome we were last week, and Roosevelt Roberts had to just ruin everything. And you're talking about a 4-1 favorite, goes out there against a guy who took the fight on a day's notice, bumps up a weight class, and has been finished like crazy. Like I said, this sport is the most unpredictable thing in the world, but that's why it's so beautiful.
I had a lineup on Fanduel that I think scored 700 points with Roosevelt Roberts in it.
I had so many nasty lineups, Jason, and Roosevelt Roberts just giving me, what did he give me, 1 or 0.5 or something? It was ridiculous.
Right when that fight ended, I was you know how you get pissed off when I take the first fight of the night, my fighter loses?
Yeah.
That's pretty much the way I was. I'm trying to find that lineup.
I mean, but it goes to show you that heavy favorites can lose, and I'm happy for Kevin Kroom. That's a nice story.
Yeah, I mean, you hit your boy Romanov last week. That one lined up for you. I scored.
What do you?
I had 701 points with Roosevelt Roberts in my lineup.
That's crazy. What do you think about my boy Romanov? Did I not call him? Like, is he not amazing? That guy is a savage.
I tell you, I was worried about his gas tank going out at one point.
Me too.
Bro, first off, the belly to back suplex or whatever, oh, man, that was a big boy he picked up.
Oh, yeah. I tell you, this guy is legit, Jason. I mean, the ref wanted that guy to, I don't know what. He just hated the guy for some reason, not stopping that fight. And I thought it was going to backfire on us. I was so nervous.
Machiavelli mentions, goes, Kroom combing his hair, mess with Robert's head. By the way, I interviewed Kevin Kroom yesterday.
I saw that. Yeah, go ahead, tell him.
He was getting his haircut, and it was funny. So we connect on Skype, and he goes, "Hey man, is it cool if I'm getting my haircut while I was like, yeah." And he's got nunchucks on as we're doing it. Oh yeah.
And everybody needs something, bro. That's cool. Like, that's his thing, I guess.
Yeah, and he said that he's gonna go buy a fancy pair of nunchucks with his $50,000 bonus.
Wow, cool, good for him.
So yeah, fun guy there. So yeah, you gotta check that out right now. Over you check my timeline, you'll see that interview right there. So that is gonna wrap it up for MMA Strategy Show right here on Awesemo.com. Of course, as always, this show is available in audio form, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. So be sure to check it out. So let's go wrap it up for MMA Strategy Show. I do so many sports here. Sometimes I forget what the initials are, but that's going to do it for the MMA Strategy Show right here on Awesemo.com.